Okay, the Mindset Channel, episode number 2, performance. Over to you, Jono.
All right. So again, everyone who wasn't here last week, my name's Jono Smith. I'm a seasoned psychotherapist, a mindset coach, and clinical hypnotherapist. My practice is New Day Strategic Therapy, and I work towards mental resilience and good mental breakthroughs.
This is Crom Salvatera, and I am a business consultant, long-time marketer, and I am a mindset mentor. Today, what we're going to be talking about is performance. And this is a big deal because this word gets thrown around everywhere, as in online, on TV, in cinemas, for example, even radio. And it's about performance. If something is not performing or is something performing, right? Along with the concept of results. Am I getting results here? Is it good, bad? What is it? Or is it good, bad performance? It just gets thrown, and it has so many meanings. And I guess what we're trying to put in this podcast today is let's define that so it's concrete in everyone's minds and mindset. Jono, what do you think of performance, mate?
Well, performance, it's, high performance, by definition, what we're talking about is, long-term success and not quick wins. Okay. Again, performance always comes from all the 1%ers. Okay. Sometimes you have a blinding flash of brilliance, which helps things forward, but it comes down to a lot of the 1%ers that you can just improve on every single day and improve the way you're going about things. So what I thought would be a nice thing for us to do today is do a little bit of a contrast between what the sort of cognitive distortions are that typically hold people back, what those core distortions are.
What are cognitive distortions to those who don't know what that is?
Yeah, it's essentially a fancy name for erroneous thinking, erroneous behavior.
What's erroneous behavior?
Limiting styles of thinking, limiting.
Yeah.
That's essentially, we'll just draw a bit of a contrast between those particular behaviors that hold people back compared to the ones that are in place for people that are obviously not cognitive distortions, that are more positive behaviors that allow people to move forward and drive performance.
What are these things? Let's start somewhere because that's a lot of things to unpack. You were talking about 5 cognitive distortions. Can you give us the 5, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is based on a lot of what I learned from with Gordon Young, who we both know. Distilled it down into something that's very simple, and I like to use with a lot of people I deal with. Okay, so I'll just run through them very general overview. We can literally spend an entire podcast on a single cognitive distortion if we want.
And we'll probably will in the future.
And we most likely will as we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So the things that typically hold people back, sort of at the basis of it all, is what's called an internal locus of control.
Internal locus of control. Okay.
Locus just meaning location. Essentially what it means is people who struggle to manage their own internal space, they're typically heavily affected by things people say to them. Things are going on in the environment around them. Okay. They find it difficult to hold their space. And that can be, being overly concerned with what other people think of you. Things like that, things that distract you from what you actually want to do. That's the external locus of control. And that can be a really limiting factor. Okay. People are making decisions, not necessarily based on the best information available, but based on, oh, I don't want this person to think poorly of me if I do this.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to make the best decisions. Okay. So it's something that could really hold you back, but that's a really key one. That's the external locus of control, that inability to be in charge of your own internal space. You're heavily affected by everything else going on around you, which for all intents and purposes, a lot of the time is just noise. So we're going to go global thinking, internal orientation, ineffective compartmentalisation, and low tolerance for ambiguity.
Okay.
That's
What's number 3, please?
Ineffective compartmentalisation.
Ineffective compartmentalisation.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. What's that?
So the ineffective compartmentalisation simply refers to letting something that goes wrong in one area of your life affect every other area of your life.
So
You
it's
know,
like when someone's in a bad mood because somebody said something to them, and then they go and drive home, and they'll be
yeah,
road raging at everyone.
yeah, or just simply, you
Gotcha.
know, you know, you were having a good day. This guy said it to me and ruined my day. Okay, that kind
Oh,
of thing. So we'll get to that one as we sort of move along here. So,
okay.
all right.
And that's what's number 5?
The low tolerance for ambiguity.
What's the low tolerance for ambiguity?
Just being really uncomfortable with not knowing exactly how something's going to turn out. It's almost like wanting everything to be absolutely perfect before you make a move.
Are perfectionists suffering from that?
Yeah, big time. Big time.
Gotcha. Right.
Yeah.
So how does this tie to the mindset of performance?
Well, these are all the factors you need to be on top of
Yeah, right.
to achieve. These are the things you need to eliminate to actually achieve a performance mindset. All these limiting behaviors
Yeah.
and limiting ways of thinking that are going to stop you from performing. We just went through that that external locus of control. That is a huge one. When people are way too concerned about what other people think of them, way too concerned about what's going on around them to actually just make a sensible decision. And what it leads to is people procrastinating and sort of holding themselves in place and not being able to move forward. Yeah, the next one I'd go to there, and this is really key, and we kind of touched on it last week briefly as well, is the concept of global thinking. Now, when you're thinking about something globally, okay, when you've got an issue that you're trying to make your way through, and this is where people get stuck, is there's an issue they're trying to work out. Looking at that issue a bit like it's a mountain in front of you,
Yeah.
okay, is really daunting. Okay, and there's a pathway to the top of the mountain, but you don't know where it is. So people end up sitting back and getting stuck and they freeze. But in actual fact, what you need to be able to do is pull yourself back from that global view and break the issue into its components. Okay, simply break down the issue into its components. So to go with that metaphor of the mountain being in front of you, even if you don't know the path to get to the top of that mountain, as long as you take a step and then take another step and then take another step, you got to get to the top of this particular metaphorical mountain anyway. But what's not going to help you is sitting back, being overwhelmed by the issue in front of you and just freezing in place. And that's a lot of where procrastination comes from.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's pretty much you know, you got the sympathetic response, which is fight, flight.
Yep.
And no one really talks about the third F, which is freeze.
Freeze. No one ever talks about the freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, because what's that, right? To me, the procrastination part is a reaction to something so daunting that people freeze.
Yeah. And it can also just be completely overcomplicated thinking as well. You know, it's about taking on the right information, boiling it down to the information that's actually relevant,
Yeah.
and taking that into account in making your decisions of what you're going to do to move forward.
Complicated thinking. I heard one psychologist mention this, that the price for intelligence is anxiety.
Look, I've heard that said before as well. It certainly can be. I'm also not crazy about that either. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because you're intelligent doesn't mean you have to be experiencing anxiety. You can also have the skill set to pick and choose what thoughts that you give your airtime to and what thoughts you simply let go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mentioned that because it was complicated thinking that is freezing people into procrastination.
Absolutely. One of the factors anyway, one of the big factors. The next of these distortions is what's referred to as an internal orientation. Okay. For want of a better way to put it, that's essentially a believed in imagination.
A belief in an imagination.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that people mistakenly do is think that just because they think something, It's true. What you actually have to do, though, not assuming everything you think is true, because we all come up with these ideas of the way things work, and we're all wrong often. Okay. And so the way to get past that is to check your information against other sources. Okay. And if you've got a problem, something that's really holding you back, just check in that your thinking's actually correct first. Okay. Very simple thing to do, but it points to sort of making your decisions based on criteria, not just because you thought it in a moment.
I remember I actually fell into something like that with my missus. Yes, I use my missus a lot as an example where um, anyway, my missus dreamt that I cheated on her and she refuses to speak to me for a whole day. And I went, what's wrong?
Because of the dream.
Because yeah, she dreamt that I cheated on her and I left her behind and all that stuff. I'm going, well, I didn't. It was a dream. It's like, yeah, but why am I dreaming of that? I went, I don't know. But it's similar to what you said. She thought about that. She dreamt about that, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and we can get lost. It's actually a good example. We can get lost in our own thoughts and the emotions that they bring up.
Yeah.
It's easy to get if you're having a faulty thought, it's easy to get lost in the emotion of that.
How much one needs to be to admit and accept that that was a faulty thought?
Yeah, it's a really simple thing, but it comes down to people that are more comfortable in themselves and more practiced at it are better at admitting when they're wrong. And one of the greatest skills of all, and that's exactly what this is actually being able to accept that just because you think something, it doesn't make it true. You've actually got to check what you're thinking against the rest of reality around you. And it's amazing how often you pull yourself up. I did it the other day. I had a particular process that I was running with regards to after each session, how I go about things, how I record the information, how I send the information out. And I just sort of fell into it over a while, and it was just taking me way too much time. And I've been doing this stuff for years. And then I pulled myself up on it and thought, what are you doing? You don't have to do it this way. It was, I was almost angry at the process for being the process that it was, then realized, hang on, I invented this process and I can actually change it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's one of those simple things that, someone like me who does this all the time, still pull myself up on it.
Wow. One of my the people that I work with, and this is a couple of years ago, just after the lockdown, very, very bold man, said this wonderful thing that it stuck with me, and I actually took it and became part of my paradigm. Is he is happy when he's wrong
Yeah,
because he's now corrected, right?
exactly right.
And he is happy that he's wrong. Happy and wrong. I am happy that I'm wrong. As a sentence, it's so hard to say.
It is actually. It almost doesn't come out naturally, does it?
No.
I am
No.
so happy I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm sorry. Because now I'm corrected. Imagine when I'll give you an example of this. There was a few songs that I used to sing, and I was singing it for years, right? And I was singing the wrong lyrics, right? And I've been singing it for like a decade, for example. That's an example, right? I've been singing it wrong for a decade, and finally I saw the lyrics. I went, oh, oh.
I'm way off.
Now I'm corrected.
Yeah.
But until I actually saw that the lyrics itself, I would have kept on going for another 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
This is being aware when you're wrong and you can self-correct. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good way to put it. Really good way to put it.
How does one do that? You need to be really self-aware, right?
You need to
But
be self-aware, and you need to check your thoughts against the evidence that's actually around you. Actually, rather than just assume that it's true because you think it, check for the evidence around you. Just a brief check and just make sure you're actually on the right track.
Okay. let's try this. How about I am walking down the road and it was the middle of the night and I'm afraid that someone will jump out and mug me.
Yeah.
How do I check if my thoughts are valid?
Yeah.
I look for, because it's dark, I can't see, so I'm gonna look at, red eyes through the bush. Whoop, I can't find any.
Yeah. Well, you
I
can look
am,
at that's it. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I'm in the
it.
middle of Marsfield, or yeah, it's a pretty safe suburb.
There you go. And you've almost answered it yourself there. So
Yeah,
you're going down this particular road, think to yourself, how many times have I done this and there's never been a problem?
yeah,
If you really want to look at it, go and look at the actual stats of crime in the area. How many muggings have been there on that street? Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Okay. And you'll typically find that you've sort of generated this particular fear just in the emotional part of your mind.
Mm.
It's not necessarily based in any fact.
By the way, guys, in case you're wondering, how come we think that way? I have a theory, right? Because in this is ingrained with us biologically, because our ancestors were in the jungle, in the savannah, in the deserts, right? And there's a lot of animals that can chase them: lions, tigers, for example, snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they need to be aware of all those dangers. Or as simple as, oh, I don't want to fall off a cliff because I'm walking, right? So we have these ingrained things that we need to do. Then put darkness there and you can't see. So we're extra aware, right? So when we can't see or we don't know, there's a bit of fear. But that's good because that's keeping us, safer or away from danger. It's a problem when the same mechanisms that protects us works against us. Is that what I'm hearing here, Jano, from you?
Yeah, look, and that's very much so. Like this, having a certain fear of being attacked or something is perfectly fine. Okay. It's a protective mechanism that we all have.
Yeah,
Okay. You have those thoughts for reasons, so you keep your eye out. Where people get in trouble is when they get stuck thinking about just that. And that can lead us to what should actually be an episode unto itself. Okay, is to talk about that limbic system, the fight or flight response, the function of the amygdala, all of that sort of thing as well. And there's literally an entire episode in that.
okay.
Um,
Okay,
just to,
guys, we will do another video on that one as well.
yeah, that's literally a full hour of conversation. But the point being, it's okay to entertain these thoughts and be aware that there are dangers around, but take the input, then it's one of the inputs to make a logical decision about whether you're safe or not.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many inputs do you require? Because only what I do is personally is very stoic. If something negative comes into my mind, right, I will go, all right, what's the best thing that can happen then? Then just to balance it out. If
Yeah.
I'm too happy, which is that bad? I don't know. But if I'm too optimistic, perhaps,
Yeah.
I'll go and think of the worst possible scenario as well. And
Yeah.
both of them are in my head, right? And both of them in my head, it's still not real. It's just in my head.
Exactly right. And this is the issue when people run what I call what if thinking. Okay.
Mm,
What if thinking, it's a protective way of being aware of some challenges you might have ahead. What if this happens? What if that happens?
yeah.
Great to acknowledge it. Where people get in trouble is when they get stuck on
Mm,
what if thinking and they can't move forward because what if this happens? What if that happens?
yeah.
Okay. And you get stuck in that line of thinking. And again, the what if thinking typically comes from that emotional part of your mind. And the emotional part of your mind is one of your inputs. You want to make your decisions over in the logical part of your mind. And that means taking into account all the factors as opposed to just your emotional what if thinking.
What's a good technique, best practice on this one?
I mean, look, it's interesting. It's a pretty involved question, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess probably looking at it the other way, the way I describe it is just don't base your decision purely based on your initial emotional reaction, more to the point. You want to take into account all the factors that are actually around you. Now, in that particular example you gave, are there any other people around? Has there been a history of being any problems in this place? All of these sort of things as well. And like I say, that initial fear reaction is something to be taken into account, but that's not what you want to base your decision on. You want to base your decision on the input from that fear reaction and then process it more logically, but take the input as one of the inputs there.
So that's internal orientation. Got it.
Yeah, that's the internal orientation there. So the next one would be, it's a really simple one, is just ineffective compartmentalisation. Okay.
Ineffective compartmentalisation. Okay.
Yeah, just ineffective compartmentalisation, which is pretty self-explanatory. Okay. Essentially, it comes down to if something goes wrong in one aspect of your life, okay, it doesn't mean it has to carry across to every other aspect of your life, okay? It means if you make one bad decision along the way, you don't have to live in fear of making a string of bad decisions. You just made one bad decision, okay? Compartmentalize it away. And you see this in, this is what professional sports people are excellent at as well, okay? You know, you've got guys that are, you know, taking their, you know, taking a shot at goal with, you know, that's going to put him in the lead with 30 seconds to go and he happens to miss. You know, these professionals, they can't fall in a hole and think about that every time they have to take another high pressure shot. They compartmentalize it away. They black box it, which is a bit of a technique, and just push that away. Okay. So too, you can over compartmentalize things, which comes under ineffective compartmentalisation as well. Okay. You can over compartmentalize away. Classic example, people who smoke. They even put those horrendous pictures of people with mouth cancer on the packets these days. Okay, all these horrible things. But people who want to smoke, they know about the cancer, they know about the heart disease, they know about they've got a picture of cancer in front of them, but they just push that to the side and light up a cigarette. Over compartmentalization. It's as simple as that. As simple as that. The next one, and this is a very important one, is the low tolerance for ambiguity. Okay. The human mind always wants to know how things are going to turn out. Doesn't have to know, just wants to. Okay. And we're obviously, for obvious reasons, we're all a little bit more comfortable when we know how things are going to turn out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But very rarely do you get to know exactly how something's going to end up. When you start a business, for example, you can do all the right things and minimize your risk and maximize your upside as much as possible, but you still don't know how it's going to turn out. Every time you've got to make a decision, you don't 100% know if it's going to be the best decision. And the mistake people make is, by being scared of that ambiguity, getting in a position where they're just not making decisions. They sit there and analyze and overanalyze and don't actually make decisions to move forward. Okay. And that's where you get that analysis paralysis.
Oh man, I know so many people like that.
I know lots of them. I know lots of them.
So guys, in case you're wondering, I work in the marketing world. I'm in advertising, and I've worked with people that we have an idea, a concept, and a due date. Pretty much, that's usually what we do. There was so many times where copy and creative are the ones that delayed the whole project, because the manager in charge doesn't like the copy. And when you ask them, all right, this is what the marketplace says, this is what the copy says, and this is what you want, we're pretty much ticking all the boxes, right? Based on the experience as well. And saying, no, I don't feel it. I'm going, oh no, okay. Feel.
Feel. That is it's really good that you brought that up. And that's
Mm.
doing the thinking and the decision making, the emotional part of the mind. That speaks back to that internal orientation a bit.
Yeah,
I
right.
just don't feel it. Don't feel it. What about reality here? What about how it actually stacks up against the other factors that you spoke about there?
Mm.
You spoke about this is what the market says. This is
Yeah,
what the copy says. How does that match up?
yeah.
As opposed to, I don't quite feel it.
Mm. My strategy in that one is I usually create two versions of it and I
Mm.
let the marketplace decide.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
A/B testing, that's what we call it, but it's
A/B test.
literally just to remove all. We will even create 3 versions, 4 versions, 5 versions of it, and let the marketplace decide.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What's the next
exactly.
one?
Okay, they're the limiting cognitive distortions. Okay.
Okay, so these cognitive distortions limit performance. Is that right?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
They just simply limit performance. And just to run through them just one at a time quickly, again, we went through that external locus of control.
Yep.
We went through the global thinking.
Yep.
Okay. The internal orientation, in brackets, believed in imagination. Okay.
Mm.
We went through the ineffective compartmentalisation.
Yep.
Okay. When you make a mistake, let it go. Okay. And the low tolerance for ambiguity. You can't always expect to know exactly how things are going to turn out. You can't wait for it to be absolutely certain before you take a step.
How would that, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here.
Go for it.
How does that tie in with mindset, for example, in performance?
Well, this is quite simply, if you can eliminate these particular behaviors
Mm.
from holding you back from taking actions. The problem is these things stop you taking action. And how do you perform at something? You don't perform at something by sitting back and waiting for a burst of inspiration. You perform at something by doing.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Even if you do it poorly at first, that's fine. Okay. Anything you got to do, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to do things poorly before you learn to do them really well. But sitting back and thinking about it and wanting to be perfect is not going to get you there. Actually doing and experiencing is what's going to get you there.
It's funny. This is now a side step on that one. That's why I tell my daughters that love is a verb, right? Because when one day when they grow up, they will experience, I'm not feeling the love anymore, because
Yeah.
love is a verb. By loving something,
Yep.
of the feeling comes on.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
No, exactly. Exactly right.
So with performance, there's good and bad performance. So are you performing well? And we're trying to create a mindset here where performance is, I guess, positive most of the time, right?
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Well, let's have a look at that. Let's talk about the flip side
Yeah.
of what we just spoke about.
Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about the flip side of the behaviors that we just spoke about. Let's talk about the opposite to the cognitive distortions. And what we're going to talk about now are the things that you really do want. These are, without a doubt, the things that drive high performance. Okay. And if you were to do, both of us are NLP masters, if you were to model the most successful people in the world, whether that be in business, in sport, or just personally successful, because personal success is important too. You don't have to be the best known, the most famous. Being personally successful is also very important. So let's have a look at those. So that would start off with having an internal locus of control. Okay. So what that basically says is, I take into account everything around me, but I don't let it influence me to the point where I don't make decisions. Okay. I don't let myself be heavily affected by other people's opinions of me.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel comfortable within myself. I can take myself forward. Okay. It's almost like being a bit bulletproof.
Oh, wow.
Okay? When you run that internal locus of control, it's almost like you've got a suit of armor around you. Okay. It's you're comfortable trusting in your own abilities, taking into account the inputs from around you, but confident in your ability to actually make your own good decisions, knowing that you will make mistakes.
Mm,
Here and there, you will make mistakes, but being okay with that.
that's not easy.
Yeah, yeah. But as with anything, you get good at it one step at a time.
Yeah.
One simple step at a time. It's all of this stuff can be built. Okay. The next one there would be the high tolerance for ambiguity. Okay. Not being stuck and being held back by not knowing how something's going to turn out. Being able to make a decision based purely on the best information available. Okay. Knowing that you don't 100% know how it's going to turn out, but you make decisions. Okay. I did some work with I won't name him on here, but a very wealthy individual many years ago that owned one of the sort of second-tier telco companies here years ago, and learned a lot from him. Okay. And one of the things I noticed about him, okay, is that he just kept making decisions. Okay. And this approach isn't for everyone, and it's not necessarily the best approach, but it was a legitimate approach, and it really stood out to me. Okay. So this guy would just constantly make decisions. And if he made a bad one, he just made a better one to counter it and go back in a better direction again.
Nice.
He always spoke about the worst thing you can do is sit back and wait for things to be perfect. You've got to make decisions. And if they don't work out, just make a better one.
I love that. Hey, I really love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I learned, it's one of the main things I picked up from them on the way.
Yeah.
Really, really, really interesting way to approach it. So I think the next one there is that, as opposed to the cognitive distortion, was ineffective compartmentalisation. High performance people have effective compartmentalisation. Okay. I made that mistake. I made that bad decision. I missed that kick. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's in the past now. I can't change it.
Okay.
It's in the past. What I can do is do better next time. And that's what I'm just going to try and do. And just be comfortable with that. So as soon as you've made an error, as soon as you've made a mistake, brush it off.
Yeah.
Brush it off and let it go. Dust yourself off.
That takes a lot of practice as well, hey?
All of this is just all about practice. I think you remember last week I spoke about looking at confidence more like a muscle. Okay. Same thing with this. This is how you build confidence in all these things. You just keep at it, just keep taking the small steps. And as you keep taking the small steps, you build this high performance mindset.
Nice. What's the third one, did you say?
We'll call it that congruity and dynamic situational awareness.
Yep. Can you repeat the whole thing again?
Congruity and dynamic situational awareness.
Wow. Okay. Enlighten us. What's that?
You thought you got me there, didn't you?
What does that mean?
So essentially what that means is being able to align your thoughts and your actions to the real-time situation. Okay. So you might go into a situation thinking it works like this. Okay. But when you arrive, the situation's changed. Okay. There are now a couple of different factors in play. Okay. And it's about being able to take into account those situations and change your approach on the fly to meet the needs of what you need to do. And I think a lot of that speaks to a lot of people when, as a business example, I guess, not that this is entirely business focused, but, most people have this idea of running a business that it's like this. You start it and you build it and you have this one idea and it just keeps going. Pretty much anyone who's been in business will tell you that it's kind of like this. Okay. And it's about you've got a great idea. You've got something you can start off with. You've got something you can go with. But then you got to adjust real time to the market on the fly. Okay. You know, you look at your professional sports example as well. They go into a game with one game plan. 10 minutes into the game, they realize the other team's totally worked this out. And if they keep doing this, they're going to get crushed. They've got to change the plan on the fly.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Sorry guys, I practiced Aikido for 30 years, right?
Oh, you did too,
And
didn't you?
yeah, so we have these concept. So in Aikido, in case you're wondering, unless it's sports Aikido, most of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, there's no competition, right? Because you end up killing each other, pure and simple, right?
There's no what, sorry?
There's no competition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So you literally learn kata and drills until you pass and then you move. Yes, believe it or not, it still works and it's still effective, right? In Aikido, though, there's a section there where there is what we call Jiu-Waza, which means free techniques, which means freestyle. Yeah. And that's an equivalent to karate's kumite, which is, you know, there's no rules. I mean, there are rules, but we're no longer doing a drill. We're practicing it. It's the closest thing to a sparring, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's unique about the Aikido Jiu-Waza is it's not one-on-one, right? When you're brown belt over until first degree black belt, it's 2-on-1, right?
Wow.
And then when you go to Nidan or second degree, it becomes 3-on-1. And then when you go to third degree and fourth degree, those three are armed.
Oh, wow.
With a knife, with a stick, and with a sword. And you got 1 minute to survive that.
Wow.
Yes. So that's Jiu-Waza, and that's, you cannot, for the life of you, apply techniques.
And that is classic requirement for dynamic situational awareness.
Yeah.
You
You couldn't do a technique. Like all of the techniques, you know, the only thing you can do is move, get out of the way, and don't get cut, don't get stabbed, and just move.
And what do you think leads to you having the confidence to step in and be able to do that?
Lots of small steps, lots of kata, lots of practice, and you start with one-on-one when you're just below brown belt, one-on-one, a lot of one-on-ones, and it becomes 2-on-1.
Yeah.
Right. And we even broke it down to 2-on-1 on Seiza, on Shiko, which is on your knees. So you're not standing. So remember,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So you're just, that's the practice of what if you got dragged to the ground. So you start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you stand up because now you're faster. You got legs. You can leap. You can walk faster. You can really use your legs. And then you build it up until you can handle 2.
Yep.
Then you can handle 3. And then you can handle 3 with weapons.
Wow.
Okay. So that's the situation. I think that's the situation. That's how I learned anyway.
That is a great example.
I'll give you an example. When there's crunch time during something, it could be a deadline, could be anything, or it's a 4:55 p.m. emergency at work. The amount of times people go, I'm one of the few ones in that team that normally goes, all right, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
And people even ask me, how can you be so calm? Right? Don't you appreciate the situation we're in? I went, yes, I do. And no need to panic about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but Zach, that is a great example of extreme dynamic situational awareness. A great example.
Yeah. And also I believe because I was put in that hardcore stress, right? My body, my mind, and my psyche have learned that's real stress, right?
Yeah.
So when that stress goes away, all this crappy chronic stress that I've been believing or think don't matter.
Yeah, exactly right. exactly right. It puts the other smaller stresses in perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's why, the Hoffman bath that is being trending at the moment, where people go into a tub full of ice.
Oh, Wim Hof.
Wim Hof. I was way
Wim
off.
Hof, yeah.
Wim Hof. Yes, correct. My theory on that one is you're putting the body in so much stress, right?
Yeah.
That you do that once or twice a week for a minute or two, because the effect that I've been hearing from about this what do you call it again? Wim Hof.
Wim Hof, yeah.
Yeah, is after that they're just calm.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a great it's a great technique to use. It really is. I do a slight adjustment of that and just start my day with a really cold shower for about a minute before I turn the hot water on. But I find it absolutely exhilarating, and I find it sets me up, and I'm just really switched on,
Wow.
and I think really clearly straight away.
Wow.
It's interesting to look at the breathing in Wim Hof as well. Some of those Wim Hof breathing techniques are really interesting as well.
So that's performance. You need to be able to contain your mind, your mindset, your behavior, and effectively compartmentalize.
Yeah, and stay in an uncomfortable situation, knowing that you'll get through it.
Wow.
The I guess the last one here as well, which is a really simple one. The last factor of this high performance is simply an action orientation. Simple as that. Okay. Again, getting away from just thinking things too much, getting away from overcomplicated thinking. Having techniques in place, I guess, to, you can be aware of all the information, not be overwhelmed by it, and focus in on the information that you have and make a choice and move. Take action rather than think about taking action. And you and I spoke about it, before we got this channel started. One of the big things is we could sit there for the next, few months thinking about what a great idea it'd be, or just do it.
Just do it.
Or just do it. And here we are doing our second episode. We just did it.
Yes, we are indeed. And our 29th video.
And our 29th video.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. I wish I could take credit for more of those.
No, it's the two of us in this channel, man. Yes, that's why I reckon Nike's slogan, "Just do it," resonated so much.
Oh yeah. Nike have done some brilliant things. What I like about compartmentalization as well. Do you ever see that Nike had years ago with Michael Jordan? Okay, and he basically says, to paraphrase it, because I can't remember the exact words, he said, I've missed X amount of shots on the bell. I've missed X amount of free throws. I've missed this. I've missed this. I've missed this. And then he goes, I have failed time and time again. And that is why I succeed.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the greatest ads, I put a lot of my clients, I get them to look it up on YouTube and watch it.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is called the growth mindset.
That is a growth mindset, absolutely.
The growth mindset is looking at mistakes as a learning curve. It's a buzzword in the business world. It kind of slowly starting to move into the daily lives of people, right? But you mostly find this in the business world. Okay, we made a mistake, we didn't achieve, what can we learn from here? And what steps can we take so it doesn't happen again? And it's actually documented and thought about and placed, so everyone's actions are now adheres to it, right?
Yeah.
So
I saw
that's
a great video.
Sorry?
Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, I saw a great video on growth mindset the other day as well, which I think was relevant. Just popped into my mind out of nowhere. But this guy basically went and did some work with Navy SEALs. Okay.
Yeah.
and they spoke about, what creates a good leader. Okay. And they basically came up with essentially a graph with the vertical column being ability.
Yep.
And the horizontal line being trust. Okay. What they came up with was you can't have a guy with all the trust, with all the ability in the world who you wouldn't trust,
Yeah.
who you wouldn't buy a used car off. Okay. He can't be a leader. Okay. And just because he's good, he gets results, he can't be the leader. What they would prefer as the leader is even a guy with a lower ability, but a greater level of trust.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're the guys that create that, help create that growth mindset. Okay. So in a business sense or in a team sense, the leadership down to the trust in your leader, it's not all about their ability. It's about your trust in them.
I've had leaders in the past, managers, and some of them not even my managers, they were the CEO that took kindly to me and mentored me, right? And I'm full of gratitude to this day because they literally led me to here, right? Not as a plan, but it led here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And one of the many things that I would like to relate to you in that one is I just trusted them.
There you go. There you go.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, Chrome, I can see that you're good at this. I can see this is your gap. I think you should do this. I'll just go, okay,
Yeah.
let's give that a go.
Yeah.
And 99% they were right.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So to wrap up today's performance mindset, what can you actually say about just to summarize everything, Jono?
Oh, look, the performance mindset, it comes down to, simply identifying things that are holding you back. Okay. What I hope people get out of what we've explained today, simply understanding this limits you, this leads to growth.
Yeah.
Okay. And typically that performance mindset, that high performance mindset is a fairly uncomplicated mindset. Okay. And to bring back trust, it is based on trust in yourself. Okay. And how to develop that trust in yourself? You practice, you make mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, you just keep going on, but you don't stop. You just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, I want to add on to that one as well, is a self-talk that I would recommend, right, to everyone. I say this to myself. I'll give you a scenario on this one. When I was going for my second degree black belt, I was gone. It was going for it was a grading, right?
Yep.
And it's strenuous, as in you do the no weapons, yeah, empty hand, should I say, or taijutsu, and then you do a jiuwaza where you get attacked, right?
Yep.
As you can probably imagine, you're pretty much puffed out, you're gassed out.
I can
After
only
that,
imagine.
you're just gassed out, and then
Yeah.
you do the weaponry, right? So guys, in case you're wondering, if you are that stressed out or gassed out, the blood mostly starts going to your body, and the prefrontal cortex, which is in this side of the brain, doesn't have the cerebral the power that it needs, right, to think and do the next move, or even to psych up the body to keep on going. John, you know what, when my body got tired and my mind said give up, right? All I had was my spirit.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
that's what I got. My psyche, that's my spirit, right? To keep on going and perform.
Yep.
Right? And one of the things I keep on saying is like, you got this, Crum. You got this. I just kept
Yep.
on saying that in my head and in my being. And before you know it, Cromwell, well done. Here's your second degree black belt.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, thank you.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. I like when you talk about the psyche there.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, it's a bit, it's almost, it's obviously based on the mind, but it's almost a separate thing. It's that
It's
extra
almost
bit.
we're
It's
unified.
that extra, it's
Mind,
that
body,
extra bit.
and psyche is one being, right?
Yeah.
But for the purpose of understanding this, right? That there's one being, you need to break it down into three parts. That's why
Yeah.
I believe that Christianity has a trinity. One
Mhm.
thinks, one speaks, and the other one is a spirit, right?
Yeah.
That's why that's the best way we can understand this. And for those Christians here that are listening, right? We, after all, we're made out, you know, in the image of God. So there's three things also happens to us. So if you put aside the religiosity of that idea and just focus solely on the psyche, the mind, and the body, as a unified thing, there's this drive within you. That's the same drive that, you know, you will travel across the world to make
You
sure that
talk,
you can help someone that you love.
are you talking about being able to sort of align the mindset with the psyche there? Yeah.
Yes, if you put those two together, you're
Yeah.
now, that's, for the lack of a better word, you're more than human.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good way to put it.
Yeah,
Really way to put it.
because um, if you look at the lower animals, that sounds so bad. You know, I'm not saying humans are
I've
higher.
been called worse.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. If you see a horse, a big, massive animal, or a dog or a cat, if you haven't noticed, it's so easily, you can easily frighten them,
Yeah.
right? You can remove all cognitive abilities that they have by just doing some sudden movements,
Yeah.
or a gunshot, bang. Watch a whole herd disappear and not shoot them, but with a loud noise.
Yeah.
Us human beings, we're more than that, right?
Yeah.
That's why when I see people saying, "Hey, we're just a brain with appendages," no, we're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we're not. We're something else, right?
Yeah.
And call me a humanist, right?
Mm.
And if you unify that spirit or that psyche, I keep on calling it psyche because it can be studied and it can be improved, right?
Yeah, I think I do like the way you talk about the psyche there, in that very like I say, it can be studied in that scientific way.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, in relation to, I guess, purely for performance.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
What do you think is that key role of the psyche? And sort of, we've spoken about the very much the mental side so far.
yeah. So I'll give you an
Consider the psyche.
example. I'll
Yeah,
give
give
you
me
an example,
yeah,
performance, right?
yeah,
We have multiple archetypes. Some archetypes are personalities, or that's why they're called arch, because every human being has these different personalities that are similar in each other, right? There's an outlaw, there's a ruler, there's a caregiver, there's an artist, and all that stuff, right? So this personality is like a character in a movie, right? So I'll give you an example. If you want to perform tomorrow in a basketball game, imagine that you're Michael Jordan, right?
yeah,
And one of the things that you can even do is you invoke. Oh, this is now, whoa, what the hell does that mean? You invoke Michael Jordan, you move like him. It's almost like, you know, this method acting.
yeah. Method actors, yeah.
That's it. They're not acting, they're being.
Yeah, exactly right. It's interesting example of that. Remember the guy that played Kylo Ren?
Mm.
Um, he um, he wouldn't talk to this is when Luke Skywalker was back in it. He wouldn't talk to Mark Hamill through the entire production.
Wow.
Literally wouldn't talk to him. He was so in character. He literally wouldn't talk to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's his name again? The guy that played the Joker, Australian guy.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. So he put himself in a hotel room for 3 to 5, 6 months by himself. And they found his Joker diaries. He was diarizing as if he was Joker,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So his psyche is no longer Heath Ledger's.
He's the Joker at that
He's
point.
now
Yeah.
the Joker. He embodied it, right? And that's when we go, I'm a dad, I'm also the CEO, I'm also a doctor, right? So when we leave our house to lead your team, you're no longer Jono the doctor, or Jono the leader, or James James the father, or Jessica the mother. Right? You are now Jono the CEO.
Yeah.
So your psyche now has changed. Your body didn't
Yeah.
change. Your mind is still the same.
Yeah.
Obviously, you put a lot of things there, but now your soul or your psyche has now changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good
that's
example.
what I keep on saying about the psyche, because this psyche of ours can take on personalities and you can charge them,
Yeah.
right? Anyway,
Yeah. No, it's
that's why I
absolutely
love
right.
talking about this, because no one really is. And
Yeah.
as soon as you mention soul, as soon as you mention spirit, right, it becomes this religious argument, right? I'll give you an example for performance. When I know I need to perform, it's crunch time. We've been preparing for months, right? If this is a choir, we've been rehearsing for months. It's now the concert, right? So you leave your problems and issues and whatever crap you got behind. You're no longer that person that woke up this morning on your bed. You're now that choir member that will
Yeah.
sing to the gods.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by the psyche. And
Yeah. I
that's,
love it. Great example.
yes, and that's when it's time to perform.
Yeah. People can apply that to situations they're in on a daily basis.
That's it. And by the way, by doing this in your psyche, you're also compartmentalizing, right?
Absolutely, you are. You got some people wake up and there's something particular they have to do that particular day. Alter your psyche.
Yeah.
Okay. Alter your psyche. If it's something you're not looking forward to doing, that's okay. Alter your psyche.
Yes.
Okay. And achieve a psyche that is okay with doing it.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
to look forward to doing it and doing it well.
Yeah. One of the practices, you can see it. I got it from Manny Pacquiao, right? Is he will practice all day, right? Before a boxing match. There's a match 2 to 3 months ahead, let's say, right? He'll practice. Part of his daily practice, is jumping in a corner of a ring and waving his hands, arm stretch, thanking everyone because he won.
Yeah. Positive. It's just positive mental programming.
That's right. He just not just mental programming. He practices his body.
Yep.
He practices. He's trying to get that feeling to charge him up. So he knows the feeling of winning.
Yeah.
And the glory with it.
Love it. Yeah, love it. Absolutely fantastic.
Anyway,
Brilliant,
ladies and
mate.
gentlemen, if you found this useful, please subscribe and turn on those notifications. So as soon as we have a new video, you'll be one of the first ones that gets it.
And if there's something you'd like us to discuss as well, please let us know. Please let us know. Your input is absolutely invaluable.
Yes, and I'm curious, out of your performance, what are the little things that you actually do, right? As a ritual, for example, if you have one. If you don't, I recommend you get one. Get a high performance ritual that you would do before a performance. Tell us on the comment section below what you do.
I'd love to see that. I'd absolutely love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and let's see if we can turn that into something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant.
So once again, thank you very much for watching and listening. This is Crom.
And this is Jono. Thank you very much.
And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.
See you next time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.